Good afternoon. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Thank you very much. Welcome. I'm Alistair McKenzie. I'm your Mobysoft host for this session. I appreciate it's lunchtime, so thank you for taking the time to join us. If you don't already know Mobysoft, we're a specialist in data-driven insights, as you can see all around us, and plenty of case studies and colleagues if you've got any questions as we get to the end of our presentation today. We focus on delivering precision insights for organizations. We're dedicated to the sector. We've been doing that for just coming up for 20 years. We'll be celebrating our birthday in a couple of weeks' time. 20 years in the sector, providing specialist solutions around the areas of AI and machine learning and data science. We know if you're here from the repairs function, you're under relentless pressure, and those pressures are unlikely to lessen anytime soon, if anything, to go by with the ombudsman and the cost of living challenges and just the relentless pressure on responsive repairs. So we've been thinking about how we can apply our expertise to helping in this area. I'm really delighted that we can welcome Karbon today. We've had a partnership over the last 12 months where we've been working together in collaboration to look at how you use advanced technology to help with the quality of repairs and ultimately how that helps with the customer and tenant satisfaction. So it's been a real pleasure working with the Karbon teams and understanding in depth how we can help trade colleagues, schedulers, planners, and all of those people that are involved in repairs and maintenance functions to deliver a higher quality of service and improve services over time. It's my pleasure to welcome Jonathan today. Really appreciate Jonathan taking the time. This is a presentation not to be missed. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for your time today.
No problem, thank you. So, thanks everybody. Certainly built it up, so hope I don't let everybody down. But yeah, as Alice has mentioned, the repair services are generally under a lot of pressure, as I think everybody is in the sector. We've got consumer standards, value for money, home standards, government's white paper, and the new tenant satisfaction measures, alongside disrepair claims, and just generally pressures that we're going to all experience on the repairs and maintenance side. So from a Karbon's perspective, we took the time to consider almost what it is that we're measuring. So traditional KPIs, almost what you measure is what you get. A lot of the traditional ones are speed-based KPIs. So you've got SORs with standard minute values, average time taken to complete a repair, percentage of jobs completed in time. And these are all really important. And what they do is they drive, I suppose, or chivvy along the service to make sure that we're not labouring on repairs. But sometimes what it does is it drives the wrong behaviours or the wrong sort of focus within the repair service. And what we observed is almost we were not taking the time to consider the quality and necessarily had a metric that was measuring the quality of our service. So does an improvement in quality really increase time and cost? And I'm sure we're all familiar with the triangle of cost, quality and time. And traditionally focusing on quality would naturally mean that, well, it would either take longer or it would end up costing you more. But in a perverse way, and from over the last 12 months, what we're starting to realise is actually focusing on quality doesn't cost more, and it doesn't actually take us longer. So it's been started to be really beneficial for us. Again, we took the time to look at our customer satisfaction scores. Generally, our overall score was quite strong. We were normally exceeding 90% customer satisfaction overall in the repair service, which some people might think, you know, what needs fixing? 9 out of 10 times customers are happy with what you're doing. But alongside those customer satisfaction metrics are, I suppose, right first time. And we measure right first time via our customer satisfaction surveys as opposed to doing it via our system. Whereas sometimes when you're measuring it on the system, you can be right first visit, but you'll end up going multiple times to the same issue. So the way we measure it is at least then it allows the customer who's had multiple visits to say, well, no, you didn't do it right first time. You've done it 4 or 5 times. And this was kind of an area of our customer satisfaction that was letting the repair service down. So before we went with the trial, we were at 87%. And personally, I wanted us to have a suite of customer satisfaction results that exceeded 90%. Just a bit of a personal preference more than anything, just nice to have a clean sheet of everything over 90. So yeah, that was an area that we really wanted to focus on and try and improve. For us and for my team, the culture and objectives are fairly simple and straightforward, and I think keeping them simple and straightforward is beneficial for everybody who's trying to get behind something. So for us, we want seamless customer interactions and an experience for our customers. We appreciate that when it isn't seamless, it's frustrating, and that leads to complaints and can eventually lead to disrepair claims. We wanted to identify and design out inefficiencies. We all talk about efficiency. We all talk about trying to have the most efficient service possible. So we wanted to try and get under the surface of designing out those inefficiencies. And I suppose the repair sense system allowed us to gather that insight and start to understand where we needed to make some improvements. So for us, and this isn't unusual across the sector, we do 90,000 repairs. Karbon is a northeast-based housing association. We've got just under 30,000 homes. Our geography extends from Berwick, the Scottish borders, all the way down to North Yorkshire and across to Cumbria. So we've got a large geographical footprint. So that makes it a logistical challenge. Lots of driving and lots of downtime. But within our service, we generally carry out 90,000 repairs a year. The repair sense system allowed us to understand that 15% of those repairs are repeat visits. So essentially what that means is there's just under 14,000 avoidable repairs if we did it right first time, or the repair was able to sustain longer than 12 months. So that's quite a large number, and certainly an area where we wanted to focus on reducing that number of visits, and I suppose reduce the chance of customers being frustrated from not just one additional visit, but multiple additional visits. So, like Alistair said, we've worked with Mobysoft for 12 months, and we started with a trial focused purely on plumbing. So this is I suppose a useful infographic to identify our trial, which we started in March 2020. So the blue on the left, and appreciate the numbers might not be visible, but on the left, that is our 4-week repeater rate, so on plumbing. So on average, 5.5% of our plumbing jobs over a 4-week period were not being sustained, so they were failing, essentially, and we were having to go to revisit and either carry out a second repair or an additional repair to rectify it. And like I say, we went live with the system in March, so the yellow on the right-hand side is kind of post-go live with the system. So we went live in, I think, the last week in March, and we had a noticeable difference, and then that's been a sustained improvement. So on average, on the right-hand side, our 4-week repeater rate is now 3.5%, and I appreciate a 2% reduction doesn't sound a lot, but actually it's a 36% improvement in performance. And when you extrapolate that over a year, it's quite a significant improvement. So for us, in terms of measures of success, quite simple, customer impact. So we are measuring what our customers are saying about our repair service, and we are trying to track and analyze the impact that the repair sense system is having on our repair service. That's done via, obviously, our customer satisfaction metrics, but also just generally from an observational perspective and trying to get out and speak to customers, we are noticing that customers are seeing improvements in our service, but that's not to say our service isn't suffering the same issues that everybody else is in terms of, large whips, backlogs of work and everything else. So please don't think I've got all the answers for everybody, but what we are starting to see is a progressive improvement in our service through reducing repeaters. Colleague impact is really important to us, and personally really important to me in terms of colleague engagement around trades. Some associations might experience the same, but there's always a bit of a divide between a blue collar and a white collar worker, so your trade colleagues and your managers and your office workers. So what we've tried to do is focus on colleague engagement, and especially trade colleague engagement, because this could be perceived as a big brother tool, and big brother is watching over you. What we've done with our trade colleagues and the colleagues that are, I suppose, critical in the success of this system is include them on the journey, get them to understand the data that's going to be presented on those as individuals, and then what it's going to be used for from a managerial perspective and I suppose a service perspective. And then the business impact, very important. Does it wash its own face? Is it delivering on efficiencies? Is it improving the service? And we are starting to see the benefits of that, and I suppose the return on investment is starting to come to fruition. So project update and return on investment, which some people may or may not be interested in, but like I say, we've worked with Mobysoft now for 12 months, and while preparing this presentation, I took the time to look at our performance over a 5-month period, so from January to May this calendar year, in comparison to January and May last calendar year, prior to starting with the Repair Sense system. And in terms of the project and the use of this system, like I say, we started with plumbing, but then we kind of incrementally spread the system across the 4 main trades. So in November 2022, we included heating engineers and electricians, and then in February went live with joiners. So appreciate I've looked at January to May and we only introduced joiners in February. So I'll probably look at the back end of the year and then make a comparison. But over that 5-month period in comparison to this year to last year, we've seen a 20% reduction in repeat repairs, and that's across all 4 trades, which is, again, a real improvement in terms of just productivity and efficiency, or designing out inefficiency. And for us, when we turn that 20% into the potential number of jobs avoided over a 12-month period, that equates to just under 2,760 jobs that we can prevent going back to. And then when we use our average job cost, that 2,760 can be converted into a financial efficiency saving of over £400,000. So quite significant numbers when you start, I suppose, seeing the benefits of the system and really trying to get the system to work for you. So customer satisfaction, like I said, we looked at our customer satisfaction prior to using the system, and like I say, overall satisfaction was good. It was over 90%, but right first time was our Achilles heel. So currently our performance now for overall satisfaction is 93.45%. So that's a 2% improvement on our overall satisfaction. And then right first time has increased or improved to 90%. So that's a 3% improvement from where we started. So, I'm pleased we're now seeing 90% for right first time. So that's a bit of a personal win. But as an association, it's really good. We've still got a long way to go. I think there's much more we can use the system for, and there's certainly more benefits that we can gain from it. And we feel like this is a long-term project where, for me, in 3 years' time, I want us to see it's been a lot further on than where we are now. So from my perspective, lessons learned, if people are interested in this system, like I said earlier, it's involving the people that are key to the delivery of this system, and I suppose the benefits. So involving trade colleagues, like I said, there's a perception that Big Brother is watching you when you're managing and monitoring MI. And what we did, I've personally done the rollout of this system and the introduction to all of the trade colleagues across all our trade teams. So I don't know how many times I've done it, but when I've rolled it out, I've reassured them that this isn't a tool that's going to sit behind the scenes and is going to be utilised to pick on them when they're underperforming. This is a tool that we want to use to understand where there might be levels of poorer performance and what we can do to improve them. But also it's a tool to praise people when they're doing a good job. And through the data dashboard that's available, you can see where trade colleagues have not created any repeaters over a 4-week period. And what we're doing is encouraging the line managers, the trade colleagues, to have a monthly one-to-one and to feed that back to them, which is proven really beneficial, but it sometimes can be like pulling teeth getting the trade managers to do that with the trade colleagues, especially when they're managing large teams of, say, 15 trade colleagues. It is difficult, but that is, for me, one of the critical things to delivering this within your property services division successfully. And then from us, work schedulers, they've been critical in the success of this. So when we rolled it out, we did it manually. So there was the manual input of the repeater warning on the jobs by the work schedulers. And they were really committed to ensuring that the accuracy level of the information from the Mobysoft system was correct. But now they've seen that the accuracy level's there. We're moving towards it being automated, but they also see the benefits of this, because if this system will help us to reduce the number of repairs or visits that we're going to, they understand that that's fewer calls they're going to make to customers, that's fewer repairs they're going to rearrange. So they understand the benefit. And to be fair, the work schedulers are the ones who've been under the pressure for the last 3 years, rearranging appointments, standing down gas services, with obviously COVID, backlogs of work, just getting it from all angles. So a system that the work schedulers see that will benefit them is ensuring that they're getting behind this as well. And like I say, trade manager support is critical. Fortunately, we can track and monitor how often the managers are doing their monthly one-to-ones, so senior managers are strongly encouraging the trade managers to be doing it. So yeah, they are the critical one. So some feedback from trade colleagues. There's a multitude of comments across there. Some really positive ones, but generally quite positive. And the key thing is for us is listen to the trade colleagues, taking that feedback, understanding what some of their problems are, and trying to resolve them. So, you know, one on the bottom left there, our trades were unable to see the repairs history on out-of-hours jobs. So from that feedback, we worked with our ICT team, made some tweaks and refinements, and now all of the out-of-hours jobs have all of the job history. So they are going into a customer's home far more informed, knowing what's been done previously. And then again, the red one in the middle, if not prompted by the warning, I would have done something different as everyone else before me. And this was a plumber. When we first rolled out the system, they were the 10th person to visit, and we'd rolled out the system before all of the 9 other visits, but he was the 10th person to visit, so he got a high severity warning. He looked at it and looked at what the job history was, and he thought to himself, well, I would have done exactly the same as what the other 9 people had done, and it was because there was a toilet that was becoming loose. It was a low-level pan, and the customer had mobility issues, so we thought, well, I would just refix the toilet pan like everybody else who's been in previously, but he took the time to have a conversation with the customer. He understood actually that they've got the mobility issues. They are conscious that they're maybe getting on the toilet incorrectly, which is then starting to disrupt it. So then what he decided to do was replace the low-level pan and cistern with a close-coupled one. So the fixing on the cistern and the pan has a much more secure fixing, and we've never been back to that customer's home. So straight away, we've prevented a visit. We've made a customer who probably felt uncomfortable and a little bit embarrassed about her personal situation no longer feel that way. So had it not been for that system, he would have gone in and done exactly what those other 9 plumbers had done, which was not wrong. It just wasn't resolving the issue for that particular issue. So yeah, like I say, customers are key for us at Karbon, and repeat repairs impact NPS scores. I think everybody here knows that repairs, or the repairs service is the driver for customer NPS. It's, you know, all associations have really benchmarked on their repair service. So if we can improve the repair service and I suppose the quality of the repair, it will naturally contribute to an improved NPS score. And from Mobysoft's research and data, we know that customers are 6 times more likely to complain when they've got repeated repair issues that aren't being resolved. We also did some analysis on our own data, and we've found that 40% of our disrepair claims have repeaters associated with them. So again, it's quite significant that if you can reduce the number of repeaters that you're creating or contributing towards, you can potentially contribute to reducing your disrepair claims. And inevitably, disrepair claims are where the customer loses faith with the organisation, and normally it's losing faith with the repair service. They don't feel listened to, they don't feel like their problem's being resolved. So if we can nip that in the bud, then there's a potential to reduce disrepair claims, which, you know, are expensive, they're unnecessary if we can get in and do what's required in that customer's property. So just to sum up, focusing on quality, not speed, will help us in Karbon deliver a better service and experience for customers, and we're quite confident and committed to that. And like I say, we see this as being a long-term project, and we've been with it for 12 months, I see us working with this for the next few years, and hopefully within 3 years we'll move that 15% to below 10% repeaters over a 12-month period, and really start to see the benefits. So thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Comprehensive as ever. We'll open it to the floor in terms of some questions, and I think we've got a roving mic somewhere. One question I had was, I think the sector, as you said, relentless number of challenges. Damp and mould has been top of agenda for some time now. I know that that's an area we're also collaborating, so I wonder if you could maybe talk to some of the work that we're doing together around damp and mould.
Yeah, no problem. Like Alistair said, we've worked in collaboration with Mobysoft around, I suppose, damp and mould insight and a damp and mould dashboard, and that's starting to prove really beneficial to us. As a senior management team within property services, we have a monthly meeting where we pretty much have 2 hours sat looking at the Mobysoft dashboard, and including the damp and mould dashboard. The damp and mould dashboard is really informative in the sense that it allows us to have visibility of damp and mould cases. It also allows us to see the timeline of damp and mould cases or properties where potential damp and mould issues are occurring, so you can kind of see them. And then also there's a bit of a RAG rating status, so you can see high severity cases, medium and lower severity cases. But ultimately what the benefit that we're seeing is I suppose the dashboard is bringing this data that we've all got within our housing systems to the surface. And I suppose I just view it as a bit like the speed and the dials in your car. If you didn't have them, you wouldn't know how fast you were driving, or you wouldn't know how much fuel was left in your engine. This is just bringing it to the surface, and I suppose the key thing for us is having the insight and the analysis from the data, the damp and mould dashboard and the data within the system. But the key thing is to start doing something with it. Hence the reason we have a monthly meeting, because it's no good having it sat in the background. You need to start proactively using it to drive down the damp and mould cases, to ensure that you can understand where the potential damp and mould cases are occurring, and then ultimately improve your repairs and maintenance service and hopefully the experience that customers are having in their homes.
Now, Brian, I've thought of one other question as well. I mean, other than the fact that all of our workshops involve cakes and pizzas, is there any other recommendations you'd make? You talked about trade colleagues, but if you're going to get that buy-in in adopting a new technology, what's the one piece of advice you'd give folks in terms of getting that trade colleague commitment and buy-in?
I'd say create a core group of people who understand it and are, I suppose, using it as a bit of a beacon of light. And like I say, that there's myself and there's a couple of people in the audience that work for Karbon who are, I suppose, ambassadors for this system. We're pushing it out there. We're encouraging our trade line managers to have monthly meetings. We are, as a senior management team, we are looking at it on a monthly basis and who is or isn't having those one-to-ones, and just socializing it as much as you can. We've internally created visibility for property services, and because we've got quite a large team, 500 trade colleagues over a large geographical footprint, we've created like a quarterly broadcast updating trade colleagues on what's happening within property services, and a key theme has been around repair sense and the work that we're doing around it, the feedback that we're getting from trade colleagues, and just trying to create a culture within property services where the voices of trade colleagues are valued, the thoughts and ideas from trade colleagues are utilised, and then if they're not able to be utilised, we feedback why and help them understand, because they might come up with 10 ideas but 2 of them are only feasible, but they want to understand why we haven't implemented the other 8. But it's just having that open relationship between trade colleagues, middle managers and senior managers, and trying to, I suppose, just keep socialising it and make it become part of your property services DNA.
I might ask one more. You mentioned disrepair, and obviously I suspect everybody who's here has probably seen a massive increase in disrepair. I think our next door neighbours might need repair sense. Can you talk about how you've used the system to help with driving, sort of, looking at complaints, disrepair, and overall how you might see this playing into tenant satisfaction measures?
Yeah, in terms of, I suppose, the way we utilise it is we'll use the data and the insight to, I suppose, cross-reference our disrepair claims. And I suppose we're in the infancy of using it to get on the front foot as opposed to being on the back foot. And at the minute, we're trying to transition from that position of receiving a disrepair claim to predicting where one's going to come from. And it might take a little bit of time, but what we're trying to do is understand from a customer behaviour perspective, a solicitor's perspective, whether they're in a particular area, and then also from our property behaviours from the insight that the system is providing us, is we're trying to figure out how we start to get on the front foot with stuff. Like I say, we've done that retrospective analysis on, well, these are our live disrepair claims, how many of them have repeaters. What we're trying to do is start to get on the front foot and think to ourselves, well, what are we doing? So if it's a boiler breakdown and it's just no heating hot water, what we have is heating compliance officers who are, I suppose, auditing our heating engineers' work. We're then asking our heating compliance officers, can you go out and do a bit of an overview or a check of this boiler? Let's have a look at how old it is. Let's see, have we resolved it since the last time we've been? Let's have the conversation with the trade colleagues that have been, just to try and get under the surface of, well, have we done everything possible? And is it going to be sustained, or is it going to repeat again in a couple of weeks' time? And I suppose that's the work we're starting to do, but we need to get more advanced with it, which is why, like I say, I see it as being much more of a long-term project.
Jonathan and I are here for a little while, so if anybody's got questions they just want to come and ask on the up at the front here, then we'll be here for the next 10-15 minutes. Thank you very much for joining us, and a big thank you again to Jonathan.
Cheers, thank you.